over. Stance is the alignment of your bones. So the strength of your feet, the mobility of your feet, and the alignment of your bones is going to be a big contributor to happier, less painful walking. So if we're talking about stance, we're talking about the feet resting at a hip width position. And you're going to define that by finding the top of your pelvis, kind of where you put your hands on your hips. That's the aces bone. And if we drew an imaginary line down through the leg, it would land right at the middle of the ankle. So you don't want to be standing too tight or too wide, right? So in general, the feet under the hips and the toes pointing forward as much as is comfortable for you. So work your way to toes pointing forward. And especially as you walk, we want the toes to mostly be pointing forward. So that's something that we'll work on as we take these exercises out for a walk. The other part of stance is that you bring your hips back over your heels. So let's define this in a couple of ways. One is many of us, most of us probably have a little bit forward stance. I'm going to use a string and a pen to show you what that might mean. And you could devise something like this, use your cell phone charger cord. If I attach the string to the top of my femur, not the top of my pelvis, we're just measuring the leg bones, and I stand in my relaxed, this is my relaxed stance, you can tell that I'm a little bit forward of my heel with my hip. In fact, you can see that that pen goes, it's going to settle right at the top of my forefoot, not all the way out here, not all the way to the toes, but still not back in my heels. The advantage of being hips over heels is that the weight of your body is carried on the big, long, strong bones of your legs. And that gives a signal to build bone. It's anti-osteoporosis activity, hips over heels. If you are shifted forward and that's your habitual way of wearing your pelvis is a little bit forward, you're putting that whole weight of your body into the little bones of your feet. You've got 26 little bones in your feet, 33 joints in your feet. So that little bone is carrying all your weight, and it's probably contributing to your foot pain. So hips over heels, decrease your foot pain, bring the weight of your body into line with gravity so that your leg bones can strengthen and that your posture can improve. So hips over heels and stance is something we'll talk about a lot. Let's go ahead and do a little toe lifting and lowering. So come into stance, toes pointing forward, hips back, hip width stance. Lift your toes. And if you had to back up to do that, you're still wearing your pelvis a little bit forward. So back up, lift your toes, back up, and keep your hips back there as you lower your toes. So I don't want you rocking like this as you lift and lower your toes. I want you to keep your hips quiet and just lift and lower the toes. I want you to do it a bunch, all of them. Lift and lower, lift and lower, lift and lower. You don't have to go at any particular speed, but don't stop, right? It's not enough to just do. So this toe extension, when you lift, it's extension. That's an important piece of the gait cycle, the ability to do that, to control that, to have the strength to do that, because you're going to be pushing off your big toe with the foot and then landing it in front of you. So you're going to have a foot back, pushing off your big toe and then landing it in your gait. And so we're practicing that move up, down. Okay, now here's Catherine says, right? Lift just your big toes and keep going. Just your big toes up and down, up and down, up and down. Keep your big toe up and then add all the other toes to it. And then keep the other toes up as you lift and lower your big toe. Whoo-hoo! You're probably feeling that in the intrinsic muscles inside your foot and probably feeling it up into your calf muscles as well. This is balancing, right? Doesn't have to be, you can hold the wall, that's okay. But I want you to get used to the idea that your toes could be separate and that they could move separately. This helps with the mobilization of the foot bones, the toe bones. How about big toes and then all the toes down? Big toes down and then all the toes down, up and down. You can do any combinations that you want. Just play a little bit here. All right, great. Now what I want you to do is give a nice stretch to the top of your foot. And the way that we're going to do this is to come into stance, slide one foot back in stance, not too tight, right? So keep it wide, hip width wide, tip the toes under, and then just let that leg, stretch out from your toes through the top of your foot, maybe into your shin. So again, this does not have to be about balance. If you've been doing this for a while, you know to hold the weight of your body in that front leg. But also don't send your pelvis forward. Could you be hip over heels in the front leg while you're stretching the back leg? Hoo-hoo, right? 10 seconds at a time. Stretch the top of the foot by reaching it back. If this is a new move or a tricky move for you, if you've got some cramping going on, go ahead and grab a pillow or a rolled up yoga mat. And you can set that foot into a pillow and get the same top of the foot stretch, but maybe without the soreness of your toes against a hard surface like a yoga mat or a hardwood floor, right? That's a legitimate way to do top of the foot stretch. We call it a bolster, and it's not any less. It's just a way for you to hang out in that move a little bit longer and get the benefits of the stretch, right? So typically I see people coming too narrow and then it becomes a big balance thing. So make sure that you're in stance, 10 seconds at a time. Stay in stance, get all your toes under. And let me go to the side just to make sure that I'm being really clear. When I say under, I mean that way, right? It's taken me years to get my toes to look like that and to be comfortable in this stretch. So go at it nice and easy, but go at it.